Welcome to the first episode on my road to financial independence and retiring early. To me, retiring early is about having freedom from obligations and being able to get out and have adventures. This week, I've got a story about going on a multi-day climbing trip with my brother and a friend. I enjoyed the three-person dynamic, where we had my brother, Noah, who's a better climber and more experienced than me outdoors, and we had Jeff, who's a better climber than me, but less experienced than me outdoors and is working through his acrophobia. We started the trip in Sedona, where Jeff brought his dog Goku with us to the crag. The approach to the first climb, Pocketful of Magic, was extremely scrambly and almost bouldery in one section. Goku made it up fine, but we were all worried about him getting choked on the way down, so Jeff fashioned a harness from some of Noah's gear and put it on Goku, and it worked pretty nicely. Goku did not like when Jeff was on the wall and would whine or bark until Jeff was back safe on the ground. Despite my best attempts to sit with him and help him calm down, he wouldn't chill out until Jeff was off the wall. Pocketful of Magic seemed a lot easier than the set grade. With how good the handholds were and how easy the climb was in general, it felt a lot more like a gym 5'10" or an outdoor 5'8" or 5'9". It was still a decent climb, and anywhere high you get in Sedona affords an incredible view. Magic's staircase also seemed fairly soft, but there is a decent run out to the top. From the last bolt to the anchor, there's probably 25 or 30 feet of scrambling. There is also significant rope drag along the whole route. Even with extended alpine draws, I had to put significant effort into getting down when I was being lowered, even with the gree brake handle all the way open. And it took all we had to pull the rope. Also, the canyon that starts in funnels wind just so that the belay stance was very windy and very shady.
Well, we're going to be coming back down to here, though, eventually.
Maybe not.
We'll find somewhere to wedge this thing.
I wouldn't necessarily count on it.
But, no matter what, we'll probably come back down to this spot.
After my brother and I worked at pulling the rope, Noah led the climb and belayed Jeff from the top. To get down, Noah taught Jeff how to rappel, and they simul-rappelled from the top. It was much easier than lowering them from the belay stance. Thankfully, a couple days later the weather was gorgeous, and we headed out to Camelback Mountain for what turned out to be some adventure climbing. We got a slow start to the morning and got to the mountain around 9 a.m. Unfortunately, and it sounds to be a recurring issue, the parking lot was completely full when we got there. We ended up going down the road a little ways and parking in a neighborhood that didn't have any signs saying not to park there. We found a path leading from the road into Camelback, and we followed it until we connected with the main path most people were hiking. We took that path for a bit until we came to a big boulder and started up the climber's path from there. The routes on Camelback seemed to be aggressively sandbagged compared to newer routes. Some of the routes here were set in the late 1940s. We started on Hart route, which is rated 5.3, and it was easy, but I would not have felt safe without a rope.
It's pretty operator.
Yeah. Sorry, I can still drag it for you a little bit.
From the top of that pitch, we walked a relatively significant distance around the upper area until we came upon a 5'11" that had a locking bail beaner on it that Noah felt compelled to retrieve. The bail beaner was just on the first bolt, and it was less than 20 feet off the ground. He put in a small piece of protection, and in a couple moves was up to it and able to get it off the wall.
Your fear of pushing grade, right?
For gear? I will.
One thing I feel like I need to invest in is more lockers.
Nice.
Like, all right, I'm done. Get me off.
We didn't realize how long we would be walking and continued in our climbing shoes to the next climb at Pedrick's Chimney. This pitch was rated 5'1", and parts of that it felt justified. On the lower half, my brother and I climbed it with no rope, but it did take some deliberate hand and foot placement and a certain lack of acrophobia.
When you say don't go right behind, do you mean go now or wait till you're at the left?
Please don't fall.
This has some spice to it. Also, if we hurt ourselves, we'll look hella dumb with these ropes on our backs.
Yeah.
The upside is it's like sandpaper.
Yeah, very grit.
Hold on to stuff though, because it already.
At the top of the first scramble, Noah anchored in and belayed Jeff up to the ledge. Then I led the second half of the climb through a small chimney, which was distinctly not a 5-1. Since we were adventure climbing, we all had our backpacks, which makes chimney climbing much more complicated. I started up and placed a couple of alpine draws before starting into the chimney. In the midst of the micro chimney, I was trying to do the chimney grovel, and one of my feet blew off the holds, and I fell to the last bolt, which was a couple feet down.
Watch that foot behind that. Yeah, we're good. All heel and stock, don't fall.
I'll work on that.
Oh!
I landed unscathed and was able to start back up. I ended up leaving my backpack hooked to the bolt so I could get into the crack and started climbing. By the time I thought about it again, I was out of reach of being able to haul it up, so I left it for my brother to deal with.
Good job catching yourself that last time.
Thanks.
That's it, come on.
Well, that bag sure ain't coming up now. Climbing?
I then set up top belay, and Jeff came up first, then Noah cleaned up. He said he ended up just climbing the slab to the left of the chimney with my bag clipped to his belay loop and his bag on his back.
I just face climbed. I didn't even go in the chimney at all.
Oh, I get yelled at to anchor in, but he just gets to
He was a
walk
resident
off.
Sherpa.
We continued on scrambling around the top of the area, which again would have been better done in non-climbing shoes, and climbed to the top of the Camel's Head and had lunch up there. It was interesting watching the people on Camelback Mountain Trail going up the hump side of the mountain. From the distance we